Welcome to Something to Talk About. This is the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center, and Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we get together to talk about a variety of issues. Today, it's Tech Talk with Chen. We are grateful for Fieldstone Communities of Bainbridge Island for sponsoring this program. Fieldstone offers innovative and compassionate care on Rolling Bay. To learn more about their apartments or take a tour or learn about day stay and respite programs, jot down this number and give them a call, 360-689-4314. Chen is here today to talk about a lot of stuff. It's kind of a hodgepodge of most asked about topics, right, John?
Yep. And I'm also going to add a couple of items. And as a last minute thought, after I sent the initial agenda to read, and I thought for this time of the year that some of these new topics will be perfect. So
let me just give a little heads up for people who might be watching later on video. We're going to talk about IDs, user IDs and passwords, the benefits of iCloud backup or Time Machine, and smart TVs. And then the bonus discussion is about buying tech for holiday gifts.
Including buying it for yourself.
All right.
All right. How many, just for maybe a raise of your hand, how many of you have iPhones or Apple products versus Androids? Okay. All right, great.
Apple.
All right. One of the things that I've found that during the past month or so, I've worked with a lot of other people, and I found that one thing that people are really confused about, and which applies to Apple, which applies to other products. Say again?
I think Stephanie had something in the background. I just muted her.
Okay. Anyway, which is, what is a password versus when you pick up your phone, that initial screen that asks you to put in a code of some kind. And they are two different things. And many people will confuse one with the other. And in fact, depending on what I actually read on the screen, sometimes I get confused. One is what I'm calling a wake-up code, meaning you pick up a device and you want to wake it up, you want to interact with it. I treat that as a wake-up code. And the other one is your account online somewhere on the planet. You have an account, whether it's a Google account, whether it's an iCloud account, and that account has a password, right? And quite often, based on that, what you see on the screen, you're not quite sure what question your device is asking you for. So, so I'm going to use the word, the wake-up word and password. So password is for the account. Wake-up word is to wake up the device so you can interact with it. I have also found a lot of people use a wake-up code of 1, 2, 3, 4 or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it is really not wise, especially if you think about it. That phone now contains a whole lot of information about you that you have entered or you have saved onto that device. Think of that phone as your house. And that wake-up code is your house key. So you don't want to have a house key or not have a house key at all, and anybody can open the front door by turning the knob and walk right into your house. So you don't want to pick something like 1, 2, 3, 4, because majority of the time I can pick up a phone and type in 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 0, and be able to get into that device. Now, granted, that's easy to remember, but sometimes it just becomes too easy for other people to guess. So pick something different. What do you want to pick? Do you want to pick birthdays? You can, but if I really know you, or I've been a long friend of yours, I can probably guess your birthday. All right. Maybe you want to pick something that, like the house number of the very first house that you moved into, or your childhood house, something that very seldom other people will know about it, except for you. Pick something difficult to guess. Wake up code on a device is extremely important, because if you forget it, you're not going to be able to get into that device. And I have so often come across a person that has a little book, right? Nothing wrong with a little book. And they're trying to sign on to their device or sign into their Apple iCloud account or Gmail account, and they forget the password. Now, in a way, the technology is also making us forget. And I'll give you an example in a bit. If you write your passcode in a little book, which is great, nothing wrong with that, but you need to identify what it is. A lot of people will flip through that little book, says, maybe it's this, or maybe it's that, and just try different combination of numbers that they find in the book. That is not wise, mainly because companies like Apple, companies like Google, if you try something too many times, they will say, we're not sure if you're really you, so I'm going to cut you off. All right. So don't just type code blindly. Now, just remember, don't keep those passwords next to your computer.
It's right here.
Keep it someplace.
Very convenient.
Oh, it is, absolutely. But if I'm a bad guy and I break into your house and I go to your computer, and I've seen people's computer with a monitor with 3M stickums all over their monitor with their IDs and passwords. Now, it is convenient, but it is not too wise.
Okay.
So stick it someplace else, because it's just like your house key. Just remember, that's your house key. You don't want other people to get hold of your house key.
So I shouldn't like hang my house key on my front door,
or under the front, what you call it?
the front mat.
Right. Hide it someplace else, buy a fake rock if you want, and hide your key under there. Same with the list of passwords. Okay. When you set up an account, whether it be Apple's iCloud account or Google account or Microsoft or any place else, when you set it up, there are other things you can set up also. Like if you have an account, you can say, I want to add a trusted phone number. So if for some reason I cannot get into that account, I can click on a button that says, I forgot my password. And that may come back and say, well, do you want that system to send you a code, a secret code to that phone number. All right. So that is a way that you can ensure that if for some reason you forget, there is a phone number. Don't pick somebody else's phone number or pick a landline. If you have a cell phone, pick a cell phone. Make sure it's your cell phone. So if you forget your password, you can tell Apple to send a code to your cell phone. And it'll give you a 6-digit number, and you key that 6-digit number, and Apple will come back and say, okay, we know that's really you. Now we'll let you in, but you have to pick a brand new password because you forgot your old one. Some of the other things you can choose are things like instead of a phone number, a secure phone number, you can also pick a secure email address, which means you've got to have multiple emails, right? Pick a different email address that's also yours. So let's say you have an iCloud account of 123, let's say abc@icloud.com, and you create a brand new one called abc@gmail.com. The likelihood of you forgetting both is not very high. So if you forget one, you can have that company send the other email account a code. All right. So this way you have a backup, a cross backup. Another thing you can set up is, all right, I don't have a secure phone number. I don't have a secure email address. How about, and many of you have already done this, which is when I sign on, I can say, I'm going to create a whole bunch of questions that only I know the answer to. And some of them may have, some of the website will have kind of pre-written questions, like what is the color of your first car? Now, I would recommend don't pick a real color of your first car, because a bad guy may know you well enough to know that your first car was a green car. So if you pick the question of what is the color of your first car? Well, you can say, you give the answer of good color, or you can say favorite color. Yes, Reed.
Yeah, I had somebody suggest to me that the favorite color of my car should be Cincinnati.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Something, maybe a color that's totally not related to the question. I have one of the questions that I set up for one of the account, I forget which, was, what is your favorite dog? And I said, a cat. All right, which is okay, because it doesn't have to be a real answer. It just has to be an answer that you know what it is.
And you can remember.
And if you can remember. And if you don't, you can write it in a book. All right. So
Store it right next to your computer.
yeah. Now, how do you track all of these little words that you have chosen? Like, oh, by the way, sometimes when a computer I set up a question like my birthday. All right. And if my birthday is December, instead of saying my birthday is December, I may say Christmas. All right. So I know what it is. Other people probably wouldn't guess it. Now, how do you track all of these different numbers and codes and etc.? Documented well, right? Like using a spreadsheet like David has done, which is great, but you have to make sure that other people, they don't get to see that piece of paper. Right? You can also use a piece of software. There are tons of password keeping software that's out there. Some of them are very good. And most of them have a free version. Right? So you can get a free version of the software, and the free version may only be able to let you keep 10 or 15 or 20 passwords, and that's it. If you want to save more passwords, then you have to pay for it. Right. There are a good number, yes.
Sorry. How secure are those apps?
Okay. Some of them are extremely secure.
Mhm.
Some of them uses 256-bit encryption. Right? But there are some caveat to that, and I'll explain. The encryption is the best kind of encryption is end-to-end, meaning it's encrypted on your computer, it's encrypted on a network someplace. Nobody knows what it is except for you. In other words, the company let's say, I use a password keeper called RoboForm. There are others like OnePass and etc. They don't even have the code to decipher it. Right. So how do you keep your password secure on that little software? You have to pick a master password, and you have to remember it. You have to remember if it's uppercase or lowercase or how long it is. And if you forget it, you're out of luck, because nobody's going to be able to help you on it. So when you first run this piece of software, you put in that master code. And once you have put in the master code, then it opens up all of your list of passwords. If you don't provide that master code, you're locked out, and no one can help you on it. No, absolutely no one. If the software doesn't provide end-to-end encryption, which means it may be stored on your computer unencrypted, and the password may be sent to the company unencrypted. Once the company gets hold of that password, it then encrypts it, which means going from your computer to that computer, along the way, it's not encrypted. So, by the way, my RoboForm, I've used it since, oh my gosh, maybe over 20 years. And the paid version is, I think, $2 a month, which means $24 a year. Right? And what do I have saved in it? I have probably hundreds, 500-600 of password for all different accounts. My wife has a whole bunch of passwords in there. So altogether, we have maybe 500-600 passwords. Right? So I don't ever have to remember it. Now, there's something else. If you have an Apple device, Apple has a feature called Save My Password. And it's called the keychain. And by the way, the scariest part about passwords and passwords leaking out are people. You and I, all right, we're the biggest offenders because we sometimes let it out. So the goal or the future of password is to get people out of the way. Once you have a secure device like your phone, make sure that is secure, and from that point on, the phone becomes your security. and you can have Keychain create a password for you, and it will remember it. And if you have a phone and you have a pad and you have a Mac and some of you may have a watch, all of them can use the same set of passwords as long as they are all signed on to the same account ID. So if you have Apple create a password, what it will create is, I think, 6-digit of garbled letters, followed by a dash, followed by 6-digit of garbled letters, followed by a dash, followed by 6 more digits. So that means it's got 20 digits of just random characters. There's no way any human can remember it unless you write it down. But you don't have to write it down at all if you use Apple's wallet, uses password keeper. And if you have a phone, if you have a pad, you created a password on the phone, Apple automatically would take that password, transfer it to the pad. So when you get on the pad, it remembers the password you created over here. Right. So for your entire household, all you need is that one code to open up the phone. Once it's opened up the phone, you have access to all your passwords. Another part, what Apple provides, along with Google, I think Gmail also provides it, but I'm not sure, which is email addresses. Now, how many of you only have one email address that you use? Okay, many people only create one. And if you give that email address out to some person, and that person is a good friend, but for some reason that your friend's house got robbed, and your email address is now out in the open, it will become very, very difficult for you to actually stop using that email address, because you have given that email address to your bank, to your doctor, to your friends, and everybody has it. And if you want to change it from one email address to another email address, it is a pain. Okay, so what can you do? You have multiple email addresses, or use something that Apple provides, which is called Hide My Email. And if you do a search on your Apple device, it'll tell you all about it. What it is if you get to a website, it says, give me your email address so I can send you confirmation on your purchase or whatever it is. You can have Apple create this fake email address. It's not really fake. It's a unique email address. And you're not going to be able to pronounce it. And you also don't have to remember it, because Apple's going to remember it for you. So it's going to create a garbled letter at something.com. So you can give that email address to, let's say, Safeway. Safeway is going to send you an email at that funny looking email address. Apple is going to get hold of it and forward it to your real email address. So Safeway will never know your real email address. Safeway only knows that funny looking one. And so what you can do is you can have Apple create a different funny looking email address and give it to CVS, another different one for Town and Country, for every place you visit, you can have Apple create a funny looking email address to give to that store or vendor. All the email will come in to those email addresses, and Apple will route all of them to your real email address, which no one knows other than you and Apple. Okay, so let's say you find that the email address you gave to some store, you're getting a lot of spam from it. One day you can just tell Apple, forget it, throw that email address away.
Mm.
So from that point on, anyone that's still writing email to that one email address essentially will get bounced. Right? You'll never see it again. You can create a brand new one to give it to the same company. You can create as many as you like, as frequently as you like, and give it out. But no one will ever know your real one. So again, Apple will remember it, and Apple will remember it from your phone to your pad, to your Mac, every place. Okay.
Great.
So, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, it was just thank you. That answered a lot of my questions about email security and password safety.
Okay, good. Now, part two of that is, that's a really hard answer, which is, if you only have one email address, how do you change it to something else? That becomes, that's a tough one. And it's probably best to handle it one-on-one. Right? Trying to see what kind of use you have and what kind of account it is, and help you convert over to something else. So for myself, I personally have somewhere around my account and along with my wife's account, we have altogether maybe 15, 18 email addresses. Right? Not these fake ones that I mentioned, but real ones that I have used for years, but I segregate them. Like my wife and I used to be in boating. So we have a boating email address that we give to boating friends, and they'll come back to that email address. And I have another one that we give out to like doctors and banks and etc. And our real iCloud email address, no one knows. Okay. And up until Apple introduced this hide my email feature, it was a pain in the neck for us to manage, because we said, okay, this vendor, we use this kind of email address, and that we use a different one. And it became a mess for us to manage. So we're slowly migrating to hide my email. So, okay, how are we doing on time? Half an hour. Future of passwords. The future of password is no passwords. All right. People like Apple, companies like Apple, and companies like Google and etc. And it's really right now, the focal point is Apple. They're trying to get people out of the loop. So they're hoping to get to a point where no one has to know their email address or passwords. How long it would take for us to get there, how trusting we are going to be to use something like that. Right? It is sort of wait and see, but it's already been implemented in the current version of iPhone's operating system, Mac, and iPad. If you want to use it, you can try it. So, all right, let's switch to smart TV. Right now, if you go to Costco, you see tons of TVs sitting there, and all of them are supposedly be smart TV. A smart TV, all it is a good old TV with a little computer inside. All right, that's all it is. You can use your computer, whether it be a PC laptop, desktop, a Mac, or a phone, or iPad. That device is really a computer. And you use that computer to sign on to Netflix, sign on to Amazon, sign on to different places, and you can watch a movie or watch whatever you want. All smart TV is they built that into a TV set. And you use a remote control to talk to that computer. Now, how many of you have, let's say, Xfinity cable or Wave cable or something? You have a cable, okay, you have a cable box, do you not? And you connect the cable box to your TV. What you end up doing is you are not using any of the smarts in that TV. What you are doing is using that TV as a monitor, meaning whatever you are receiving on your Xfinity cable box is sent to the TV, and TV says, okay, whatever you send me, I'm going to play it. Right. So in those cases, a smart TV, that TV is no longer a smart TV. So if we take that one step further, if you have, let's say, a 20-year-old TV, which is not a smart TV, but you get a cable box, and let's say your old TV is the old picture tube TV, and with the little dials, channel 2 through 13, you go up and go and click, 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 right? Okay, you have a cable box. That cable box can receive 1,000 TV channels. Your old TV can only receive 12. So you connect your cable box to your TV, usually it's channel 3. Once you connect it to your TV can now receive thousands of TV channels. You essentially made that old TV a smart TV, but you're not. You are just using the old TV as a monitor to view the picture. All right. All the smart is in that cable box. That's what it is today. All of us have a smartphone. If you have a smartphone, you can stick one of these little things, and by the way, this is a little cable connector that connects to the bottom of your phone, your iPhone. And on this end, there is a connector. It's called a HDMI. It's the current video cable format. And if you have a recent TV, if you look on the side of it, you'll see 3 or 4 of these, the big one. So whatever I have playing on my phone, I connect this to it and have this connected to the TV, then the TV will display whatever I have on the phone. So if you're showing pictures, you do this connection, and whatever you're seeing on the phone shows up on the TV. All right, so that is a wired solution using a cable. If you don't want to use cable, you can use something called Bluetooth, that's provided that your home environment is set up that way. And you can just transmit from whatever you have on your phone to that Bluetooth to that TV. All right.
Now, at the senior center, we have a smart TV that we use
Mhm.
for movies.
Yes.
And we don't have a computer connected to it, and we don't have cable. So we're using it to watch anything streamed over the web,
Yep.
or it actually came with a few channels that we don't really use, and also to play music if we want. And so in that case, we're actually using the TV as the computer and TV in one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So if today I'm going out to buy a new TV, and by the way, our TV is about 12 to 13 years old, and I can watch anything I want on that big TV. If I'm going out to buy a new TV, I would look at picture quality. All right. The size I want, the quality that I want. I'm not going to worry about anything that's related to smartness, because I'm not using the smartness on the TV. I'm using the cable box. I'm using my computer. And I also have a little streaming stick called Roku. All right. And it's about a $25 item or $30 item. That little Roku stick essentially is a computer that provides the smarts to that TV. All right. Now, so that's how you can get smarts into an old TV. Okay, let's talk about any questions up to this point. Okay. Holiday purchases. I thought of this at the last minute. And since this is November and stores are opening up the Christmas section and all the tech toys and things, and most of us at our age, we may have kids, we may have grandkids, and we may want to buy them some tech device. We may also want to buy ourselves some tech device. One of the things that I see quite often on ads from different places is they will show a PC laptop, let's say a Dell computer, next to any different kind, Microsoft computer, and etc. And right next to it, they will show an Apple computer. If you are going to buy a new device, don't buy it by price. Right? The most important part is the ecosystem, meaning if you are currently using Apple devices, don't switch to Windows, and vice versa. If you're currently using a Windows computer, don't switch to Apple purely based on price. Because switching from one ecosystem to another is not easy. The way you do things are different. The way that you can, different things that you can do are also different. The look and feel are going to be different. And how you do the normal, let's say you like to use a photo software to fix up some of the pictures. Well, that software may work on Windows, but may not work on Apple, and vice versa. And so if you are going to switch brand, like by brand, I'm not referring to the brand that's on the device, but brand of the system, ecosystem, like switch from Windows to Android to Apple. Don't do that kind of switch unless you really study up on it and know why you're switching. Same applies to if you want to buy a gift for your grandkids. All right, you may see an ad for a phone. I says, oh, that's a great price for a phone. I'm going to buy it for my grandkid. Well, if it's a different ecosystem, that grandkid may not be able to make use of it. And here comes another topic, smart plugs or light bulbs. You can buy light bulbs that you can control with your phone. You can buy an outlet plug that is controllable by your phone. I went into Costco a while back and I saw that they have smart plugs, like 3 for $20. And I said, oh, I want to take a look at that. I picked it up, looked at it. That is great if you have an Android phone, but if you have an Apple phone, it's not going to work. It will work if you spend some time on it, if you spend some additional money on it to get the interface, because they don't talk to each other, different brands. And some of you have heard on Apple, there's something called Siri. That's how you talk to it. And on Google, if you have a Google device in your home, you say, hey, Google. And Amazon has Alexa. They're all smart, what they call assistants, voice assistants. And you activate it by saying, hey, Alexa, but that device may not talk, that you just bought, may not talk to Alexa. So up to this point, every manufacturer has their own brand, own protocol. So these are the brands over here. And over here are all the different manufacturers that create little things for you to connect, to have a smart front door lock or a smart light bulb that comes on, and etc. And they don't talk. You have to make sure that you're buying the right brand to go with the right device. Now, that has been a pain for the past 3, 4, 5 years. Finally, all of these manufacturers like Apple, like Amazon, like Google, they sort of got together, and Samsung is also in there. They got together and says, okay, this is nuts. This isn't going to work. So they came up with a new strategy, which is a new smart device standard. All right. They picked a god-awful name, in my opinion. It's called Matter. Like, what's the matter? It's that word, M-A-T-T-E-R. I don't know why they picked it, but they picked it. Okay. So once that Matter product is available, and I'm beginning to see it now, all the things that gets made out there and sold, like garage door opener, front door, and light bulb and switches, if they're compatible with Matter, all the manufacturers, the big companies, tech companies, they are compatible with Matter, then everybody can talk to everybody. So you don't have to buy a specific item as long as that item can use Matter. So if you have a house and you have an iPhone, another member of your family has a, let's say, Android phone, and both of them are compatible with Matter, and you get a garage door opener because your old one died and the new one is compatible with Matter, then both people in the same household can open that garage door and close that garage door with their phones, even though they're different brands. Some of the things that you can do are like, and go from, let's say you can set it up on the Apple device. You can say, all right, every time I leave the house, turn off all my lights, make sure the front door is locked, make sure the garage doors comes down. And if I have any music going on, shut the music off. And when I come home, do the opposite. It can even, if you have a thermostat, in fact, all the new thermostat that's on the market today, most of them will talk to some kind of smart device. So you can say, every time I leave the house, turn the thermostat down 4 degrees. And when I come home, crank it back up. You can say, all right, I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. At 10, crank it down to 60. And I get up at 6:30 in the morning. So by 6 o'clock, crank it up to 66 automatically. Right. Those are the things that's coming. Many of them are already in the market now, but things didn't really take off and can't really take off unless all the devices out there are compatible with all the phones and technology devices that we have in the house. So, and let me switch to phones and devices. If you have a phone, you may ask, is my phone getting old? Do I need to replace that phone? I hear people switching phones every 1 or 2 years, or is my phone, I have a phone for 5 years. I said, is that phone too old? To give you an average, the useful life of an iPhone is about 7 years. 6 to be certain. But if you have a phone that's 6 years old, you don't need to switch. And Apple makes sure that your 6-year-old phone will get current software, and they will keep supporting it. The reason I say iPhone is because all the iPhones are made by a single company, are sold by a single company, Apple. And they know what phones are out there, what phones are compatible. Android, they took a different approach. There's a software company came up with the Android to be used on phones. And so we have hundreds of companies out there building equipment that runs on Android. And software can keep advancing, but all of these companies out here that's building phones, they may not keep the older phones up to date. So think of it kind of like you go out and buy a Ford, and that Ford is compatible with other Ford for so many years, and until they run out of parts. All right. But if you try to take a Chevy part and stick it into a Ford, it may or may not work. And that's pretty much the reason that sometimes you'll have compatibility issues. So, okay. That is pretty much what I have. Oh, Passwords. Most of the phone these days have some kind of passwords or passcodes or fingerprint sensors or face recognition sensors, what they call finger ID or face ID. If your phone has that feature, make sure you implement it, set it up. And if you think that, well, sometimes I may loan my phone to my husband or my wife, those devices can keep track of multiple people and multiple fingers. So for my wife's phone, my fingers are on it. So is my face on her phone. Her face is on my phone. So we can pick up each other's device and we can use it without having to know that wake up code. All right. The more you make use of these security features, then the easier it is for you to convert to a situation where there will be no more passwords. Right. Because then you're relying on the Face ID to validate that you are who you say you are. So if you have those features on your device, make good use of it, set it up. For something like an iPad and fingerprint sensor is here. I have it set up for multiple fingers. Sometimes it's like this, and I use my right finger. Sometimes I have it set up like this, and I set up using my left finger. Okay, and on most of these devices, you can set up 5 or 6 different fingerprints. You don't always have to use a single one. I've also, by the way, another point, fingerprint sensors. I have seen people tap it like this really quick. And they get frustrated because the computer can't read their fingerprint that fast. All right. And quite often they would give it a really quick tap, or sometimes they'll push down on it hard. Pushing down on it would do a different thing than just touching it. Okay. So the easiest thing to do is when you are using a fingerprint sensor, put your finger on it and rest on it for a couple of seconds. Just rest on it and it will wake up. If it doesn't, here it is, and I can, come on, there. So I like what Apple has done for the newest operating system they sent out a couple weeks ago. By the way, upgrades for operating system are free. Is they use the word rest your finger. They don't say tap your finger. They don't say push or press. They say rest your finger on that button.